You and I have no problem.
Hello. So we are here again. Okay, let's see. We got a guest coming before we start. Ellie, can you hear us?
I can.
See,
Yay!
magic. It's magic. So we're just starting. Before we start with Emily and then get into conversation, my name is, I got to do it because Barbara, get on me. Let Barbara get on me. My name is Barbara Beckley. And I am the CEO of the Diamond Factor LLC, which my mission is to, first of all, to make sure, especially women, to make sure they understand their PPD, their purpose, passion, and drive. And then after that, I come in as like, I always think of myself like the fairy godmother in Cinderella, where I want to come in and just glamour them up and make sure that they're out there. People know who they are, know their purpose, understand what they do in their business and all that good stuff.
Right.
So I have a TV streaming show. I do interviews. I help them on their social media platform, and the list goes on. So that's what I love to do. And my wonderful co-host, I love the awesome, tremendous Barbara Ellis.
Good. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Barb, it is so true. And I think this is why we have such similar things, that we both want the same things. Like for me, I'm Barbara Ellis, and I'm your personality pro, because personality does drive reality. It impacts every area of our life. And, I'm on a mission to make happiness the norm. To show people that they can have influence, they can have impact, but they can also earn income. We all have bills to pay. And so what I do is one of the things that I always ask people, hey, do you have a personality? And they say, well, of course. Well, yeah, but so does your messaging. But what you're putting out there also has personality. So what I do is I help them to tweak it so that they can impact all the different personality codes. And it is just so fun to be able to do that. In fact, I'm going to put there's going to be a link that goes across the screen. It's a free personality assessment. And what it does is it will help you to understand who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses. And what I have people do with it is take a couple of things from each one of the personalities in the report that you get. You're going to get it's like a 16-page report of who you are, what your strengths are. And what I do is I have people take one or two of things of, oh, that's me. Oh, yeah, that's definitely me. Oh, that's definitely me. And you put that into a conglomeration so that you know who you are and your strengths. And then let go of the things that aren't you. Quit beating yourself up for the things that you're not. Concentrate on the things that you are. So that's my soapbox all the time. Quit beating yourself up. Mind you, I'm talking to the choir, because I have to do that myself. So just really be aware of what you do. So that's my little thing for today. So, but let's bring on Emily. Then Barb, at the end, I want to hear about your new workshop.
Thank you. Okay.
So we're going to do that. So
we're going to get right. Emily. Yes. Wonderful, Emily.
Yes, this is Emily Scholl, and she is a repeat guest. I love bringing on repeat guests. Just because when we've had a really good time the first time, oh, yike. And Emily is the me, myself, and money. Oh, brother. And the conversations that we have about money are usually negative. So let's have some positive conversations with ourselves and our money. So Emily, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me again, Barbara and Barbara. Yeah, we had such a good time last time I was here, so I'm really glad to be back again.
Yeah. And one of the things of why I wanted to is that we're now partway through the year.
Unbelievably.
Some people are doing really well. Some people are now beating themselves up because they're not where they think they should be.
Yeah.
And it's all and most of the time, don't we think about it in terms of the money that we're making?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes we put that level and say, well, I'm not making this, so this is where I'm in here.
Right.
And that's scary. That's scary, because we should just make ultimate money, or like, okay, I'm wonderful if I'm making over 80,000 or whatever.
Right.
I'm just making 20. Or if I didn't make nothing in my business, oh, I suck.
Right.
That's not good.
Exactly. And that's exactly what people do. And so that's why I thought this is coming up to the halfway mark of the year. And I just really thought that this was going to be a really great segue into that. The year is only halfway, is only over half, is only halfway over. You still have 6 more months to turn yourself, turn it around, turn your conversation around, and get in touch with, the money that you're making, because it's neutral.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I love, Barbara, that you were the first time that you said in regarding the personality and stop beating yourself up for who you're not and embrace who you are. I could not agree with you more. And I find it my primary thing that I do is help people find out that there's nothing wrong with them and to help them stop beating themselves up, because it's just the most frustrating thing when you see someone who is doing this, because what happens is when we just listen to this inner critic that we all have and no one else, then it keeps us from moving forward and it keeps us from meeting the goals that we have. It keeps us stuck in this vicious cycle of shame. And the only way out of that is self-acceptance, some self-compassion. So that's absolutely the first place I start when I work with people, is to get them to understand that as long as you are being mean to yourself, and we all do it, and we don't do it intentionally, and it's part of our defense mechanisms, we think that we're trying to help ourselves by, giving us some extra motivation to do something, but it actually has the opposite effect, and it keeps us stuck and feeling badly. We might make some progress in our goal. If we want to make more income, we might have a good month. We might try some things, but then, we don't seem to stick to them. And then we feel badly about ourselves. We compensate somehow, usually not in a healthy way.
Right.
And then, we get on the cycle all over again. So if we're able to just sit with ourselves and ask ourselves, what am I feeling in this moment? Because I think many of us are really afraid of our emotions, and we don't, when we're feeling not good, we're afraid that we're going to be stuck in there and ruminate on it. But it's really important just to sit and just think, okay, let me just take a breath here, take a beat, and just think about what I'm feeling. I have a really good practical example of this. Recently, I had an insurance claim that I had to put in, and I kept putting it off. This is really funny. You know what? I'm doing it for a second time now because we just moved and the leg on our sofa broke. And so I'm doing it again. I have an insurance claim that I need to put in. But this first one was a few months ago. And I just had put it off, and I was beating myself about why am I doing this? And so I just sat with it and I thought, well, what am I feeling? And the answer was so ridiculous. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I had already waited that long. And the thought of calling a rep and explaining, oh yeah, this happened a month ago or just over a month ago. And I thought that is just really silly. Like, when you stop and think about it, like, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah, I'd feel embarrassed for a minute, but I might get a check and get reimbursed for all this money that I put out. So is that worth it? Yeah. But if I hadn't stopped and thought, okay, what exactly is holding me back from doing this? What am I feeling in this moment? Then I might not have ever gotten around to it.
Right. And it is so true, because I had a similar thing happen a couple of weeks ago. I'm working on this big event that I'm going to be having in next month in June. And I was putting off just getting some little things on it, into it, of just deciding on things. And I was like, finally just did that, took my own advice. Coaches, this is why coaches have coaches, because sometimes it's like, okay, now if somebody was telling me this and I was the coach, what would I be telling them? Mm-hmm. Well, I would be telling them exactly what you just said. Sit with it. What are you feeling? And it was just like, I was absolutely scared to death that nobody would come if I created an event. Seriously, Barbara? That was that feeling of that why would somebody come? The kind of the imposter syndrome. Why would somebody come to an event? And then, of course, my virtual assistant was saying, what happened was that she was talking about all the stuff that she was doing to put marketing out there. And I'm like, and it was just the funniest thing. So yeah, to hear you say pretty much the same thing of why were you feeling so, what feeling was it For me, it was fear of not being enough. And for you, it was embarrassment. Those are all feelings that are fleeting.
Oh, I am so glad,
Yeah.
Barbara, you said that. You and Emily is talking about that because I was feeling the same because I'm coming up with, like I told you earlier, with
Yeah.
a workshop for
Right.
women. And I'm looking for 20 women to be a part of it. And I'm
Yeah.
going to be teaching them the biz queen secrets of social media. And
Right.
this was supposed to be done like a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Just being vulnerable.
Yeah.
But like you said, Barbara, I've been a little bit fearful. Not that I can't do it
No.
because I know, but is people going to come and listen to hopefully the wisdom and the
Right.
knowledge and all that stuff that I
Exactly.
have for them. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. See, that's why I tell people it's so important to open up and say, because you never know who you're connected with. So
Right.
they can say, "Oh, you're the same way. You feel the same way,
Yeah.
Emily. You feel the same way, Barry. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm not by myself."
Right. The three of us are on this call, and we've all had the same feeling recently.
Yes.
This
Wow.
wasn't like a year ago. This was in the last month that we've all had those same feelings. So if you're listening to this, you're not alone.
You're
We
not alone.
all do it. And
Yeah.
the subject, what the subject is, has nothing to do with it. It's the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're talking about this because, and we're three successful women, yet it
Yeah.
happens to everybody, regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people see us, and I know this happens. Like, oh my God, Evelyn, she's doing this and everything, and she's awesome. And Barbara Ellis, she's like doing the personality, and then me shine like a diamond. But they don't understand. We go through similar things, just like a normal
Yeah.
person. We're normal people,
Yes.
and we get hit with fear. We get hit with,
Right.
concern and sadness sometime, and a little bit, not feeling really good one day. I
Mhm.
mean, it happens.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be happy every. I know the happiness we want to be the norm, but sometimes we might not be too happy that day.
Right.
And
Right.
that's just, we're
Yeah.
human.
Right. Exactly. What's fun for me sometimes is when I hear the big boys, the big gals, the ones that are really successful, the quote unquote, the millionaire makers and the billion
Mhm.
dollar earners. And they come on and say the same thing. I remember Anik Singhal. He was talking about when he could not break the $10 million threshold or something. So he hired himself. And I'm like, 10 million? What do you mean you don't feel confident you're making $10 million? And he said, yeah, he said, but you know what? There's more that I want to do to make a difference in the world, to help entrepreneurs. And he said, I'm not done yet. And I need more income to be able to share and to he builds courses, and he has all of these things for entrepreneurs that they can come and learn. And it is just, in fact, his company is called Learn. And it was so funny. He said, yeah, so I had to hire myself $1 billion coach to help me to get to the next level, because that's why coaches have coaches, because the feelings don't change. Doesn't matter where you are in life, what station you're in, the feelings don't change. It's just in how you handle them that does.
Good point. The way you handle
Absolutely.
them.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about money too, and how this applies to money.
Yes, well, our feelings have everything to do with money, our feelings and our emotions, but that's not necessarily what we think of when we think of money. We tend to think of, budgeting, we think of the rules, the financial knowledge, literacy, but actually what drives our behavior has nothing to do with that. It's how we feel about ourselves and how we think about money. And a lot of that just comes really early in life, in our childhood, and the relationship that we had with our parents. It all starts with that. And then what we learned from our parents, what were their money habits like? Did they avoid money? Did they handle money wisely? Did they hoard money? All of these things we either inherit, unconsciously, or we reject them, again, unconsciously, until we take the time to figure out, okay, this and often it leads to conflict because our parents they're different in their money, or it doesn't align with our core values, what they did, and so we feel all this turmoil inside. But when we take the time to kind of to sort that out, then we're able to be aware of what's driving our money behaviors, and then we have control over what we do when that happens.
Right. Like
Yeah.
I look back on some of the things that I've done and go, went, oh yeah, not too stellar. I've stopped beating myself up about it, um, because I've had to, because some of it was not, through no fault of my own. But never in my life did I ever think that I would have to declare personal bankruptcy. And yet I had
Mm,
to,
mm,
because I got involved with a company and they got shut. I put everything into it and they got shut down. So my lesson for that, the other day I was filling out a things. I'm going to be doing a podcast next month. And she said, and one of the questions was that they were going to be asking me was, what is something you've really learned in your business or in your money or something like that? And I thought this would be appropriate here because we are talking about money. Don't build in somebody else's playground.
oh,
Found that out the hard way. So for those of you that are in like network marketing or direct sales, that you are with a company, hey, I applaud you for doing that. However, build an identity around you.
yes.
And that is the company that you're with is your tool that you do what you do with. But build who you are. Who are you within what you do? Because what you do is your tool, but that's not you or your business. Because you know what? You can always change your tool if you have built your business around who you are within your business. Hard lesson to learn, but I had to learn it. And
Yeah.
now it's like made such a difference. Now I'm building me. I'm building that I am your personality pro. The tool that I use is bank, and I love it.
Mm. Oh, yes. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was falling into that phase just two or
Mhm.
3 years ago,
Yeah.
where, then I had to look at it and said, wait a minute,
Yeah.
I'm helping. And, there's nothing wrong. I want to put this out here. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with collaborating with each
Oh,
other and
exactly.
working with each other on projects. And like you said, you're working with bank because that's helping a great deal to get you to what you're doing.
Yeah.
But when you start losing yourself in somebody else's business and helping them profit to a point where you're just kind of like not even recognized.
Mhm.
And then if things go really flat, guess what?
Yep.
You're gonna go flat right with them. That's where you need to take a stand and say to yourself, okay, is this something that is gonna move me just not to help others, but am I getting elevated somewhere?
Yeah.
Do they even know who Barbara Beckley is? And that's what was going on. They didn't even know who I was. I
Right.
mean, I was sucked into there, I was like, whoa. And it
Right.
wasn't never their fault. It
Nope.
was like, okay, this is something that I thought that would, but I got so entangled that, like you said, Barbara, you get caught up in that. So you have to make sure your identity is still standing strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that has
Yeah.
everything to do with money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Because
love that you mentioned that being kind to yourself and accepting that was your way out of it, which is for sure. And even if you said some of it was not my fault, but even if it was, I mean, I've been in lots of credit card debt. I've made
yeah.
really bad financial choices. I think most of us have. But just understanding I am where I am today because of all of this that happened in the past, and really understanding what your own money story is can create such compassion, and it just makes perfect sense. Well, of course I have $20,000 in debt now. It's because all of this stuff, and I actually never learned about money, and I was really scared of it. So every time I tried to, I just got kind of foggy-headed and avoidant. But now I understand all of this. I understand what the patterns are that I inherited. I understand all of these dynamics, and now I can move forward.
Right. Right. And so true. So true. Because when we can't accept ourselves, that's when we beat ourselves up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and just understanding our own history, even when
Right.
it comes to money, I don't think most of us think of ourselves as having a money history. And it's not just about money. I find this so often with the clients that I work with. So I had a client recently in the beginning of the year who, on paper, she had everything going for her. She made a decent income. She was very highly educated. She had a billion credentials, but she always felt like she was struggling and just didn't have the support. She just always had to grind, and that money, it just was not easy for her to make it. And when we reviewed her money biography and then her parents' money attitudes, we put them up on this map. it was all of this emotional stuff that came out. It was the fact that when she was 8 years old, her older sister, who was just a year older than her, had died. And her parents never really talked to her about that. They never got her any help. So she was left with all of this grief. And then in her early 20s, her mother passed away. And then her father remarried very quickly and kind of really moved out of her life. So she had all of this series of losses that she never dealt with. And when she was able to see it there in black and white, oh my gosh, this is why I'm not earning what I want to. And she just actually burst into tears when she saw it, because she recognized, oh my gosh, that's true. Like, I do need to deal with this. And it was so, I don't like to say that I like to see my clients cry, but, we have to go through that pain in order to get to the other side. So I knew that that was so important for her to realize. And so now she's in counseling to heal that wound. And she's going to be incredible. She's going to have such air under her wings when she's finished, because she already has such a strong foundation, but it was this emotional piece that was missing. And so I just wanted to say that, it's not just money that has, it's not just our history with money that has to do with, how we are now. It's also with our emotional experiences as children and how we, attach to our parents and these wounds that we had. Hardly any of us escape childhood with our self-esteem 100% intact. And I think it's the job of adulthood to try to find out, okay, where are those holes and how do I how do I make myself whole? And it has everything to do with money, much more than we would think.
Right. I think one of the things for me is that it just starts with being what you just talked about, being aware. When you can see that light bulb go on, that somebody, that's why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And that one little spark of light in this world of darkness that we feel that we're in sometimes, that pit of black that was like, what is, and we automatically internalize it. What is wrong with me that I can't, what's wrong with me? And there is nothing wrong with you. And that's what so when we come full circle, we're right back to where we started. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yes.
It's just being aware of, like you just talked about, the holes.
Yes.
Just the holes, the little holes that we can shed a little light on. And once there's that flicker of light, it's like, and then there'll be the next flicker of light, and then the next flicker of light, and the next flicker. And that starts the journey.
Wow. So Emily, I have a question for you. So I know a lot of times, we get on and we talk about, you need to do this and think about this. So is somebody that's really probably still in that maybe, hole of, I still don't feel, worthy, or, money is just really, a big, huge thing over my, like a cloud. What would you kind of tell somebody where to really start from if they're in that moment?
Yeah, again, it has to come with self-compassion. So just take a deep breath and just say, okay, I'm in this place. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to find out. And, it's okay that I'm here. And as long as I stay curious and begin to investigate my past, then I'm going to learn and I'm going to be able to move forward. And then a practical tip that I can give is like, how do you begin this awareness? One thing that's really easy that anyone can do is to draw pictures. So this is something that I do more and more with clients. My one-on-one clients, I even have group programs where I do this. So draw a picture of your relationship with money. And when we draw, we think holistically. So all of that emotional undercurrents, they come out as well. And you can get a really good idea of what's holding you back when you draw. For example, you might draw a picture of you receiving money, but it's just falling from the sky and it's just really passive and there's nothing that you're actually doing to get it. So, that gives you an indication, okay, I want money to come, but I actually, or I have no container for it. It's falling, but it's just falling on the ground. and maybe my hand, oh, I forgot to draw myself with hands. I can't even. I'm
right.
literally not in a position to receive what's coming, and it's just so interesting how much we can see when we draw. And then, so that would be the first step. Then the second step is to draw a picture and then connect those dots. Okay, so if I wanted to receive this money, what would I do, and what would that look like? And then you can take that into reality. So for me, I did this exercise recently. I do this from time to time. And I realized that there needed to be some connection between the wanting money and working for it and receiving it. And so I was able to literally, I wonder if I have that picture here, see in the picture, and then I was able to draw it in. Oh, it's right here. So, whoops. So this is me receiving energy, and then it's coming out through my hand, and then through through that time, and then these 3 circles, that's like a clock, and then I'm putting in consistent effort day after day and using the creative force to put something in motion, and then that's going to produce the money. So it's so fascinating what comes out.
I'm gonna have to try that.
I know.
It's a very cool process.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Barbara.
Don't go.
I was going to say real quick with the drawing of, that's so visual for people, because I'm a visual person. And I was talking to another business partner of mine, and a while ago, sometimes it still pops in, where she was having financial difficulties and she was getting those calls. Those calls, those bill collectors are like, okay, where's my money? You haven't paid, where's my money? And she was to the point where she was fearful of even picking up the telephone.
Yeah.
And I was saying to her, I was like, see, when it gets to the point when I feel like that just stops you in your tracks of life, is when you're so fearful that you can't even pick up your own telephone and answer the call. Then there's a problem with that. So I'm thinking that by drawing what you said, Emily, you could look at it and be like, okay, draw yourself, and then draw the foam around you, and then just show something like you're throwing something, or you're saying, no, you're not gonna attack me, you're not gonna make me fearful of this. And I feel like if people draw that and see that, this thing is not as big as I'm putting it in my head. This I need to release this from me. So yeah, those are just some things that I know a lot of people, because I know a lot. I mean, even myself, I was like that, where I was like, I see the phone, I see the 800 number, 866 number, or whatever, and be like, oh, don't talk to them, because I know who probably they are right now, and I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. And one of the biggest lessons for me was when I was going through all of this financial, tell somebody.
Yeah.
Don't keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
And once I was so embarrassed, all those feelings of shame and embarrassment, and just trying to dig myself out on my own, in my own power, and then realizing that, okay, yeah, fine. Then having to realize that I knew I really needed to reach out and get help. And then I was so embarrassed about having to talk to somebody about needing help. But then when I told my first friend that I was going through it, she went, she said, welcome to the club. And I was like, and it kind of stopped me for a second. She said, yeah, welcome to the world. You wouldn't believe. And then it was like, oh, right. And from then on, so many people that I shed more light on it, that I was going through this, they said, oh yeah, welcome to my world. Here, this is something that you can do that helped me. And so many people were like, because what, it happens. It happens.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing, like you said earlier, Barbara, is the people have that shame. They feel shameful that, how did I get myself into this? I know better. Things pop in your head like, I'm a business person, I'm supposed to know better than this. How did I, do this? These people, I mean, I understand family did this, I was gonna do the opposite of that. So you have all that talking in your head, and then you feel like if you told Emily or Barbara, they'll be like, look at you differently. See, you think people are gonna look at you differently. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. Just because there's so many people that deals with it that you don't even realize.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because either they haven't dealt with, they're either going through it themselves right now, or they have gone through it in the past, or they will go through it in the future.
Mhm.
You said it's all three.
Yes.
And so just get your story out there, because you might change a life.
Yes.
That just to let somebody know that, and that breath of, like Emily said at the very beginning, was take a
A
breath
breath. Yeah.
and just sit with it. And okay, what are you feeling? And then go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that, Barbara. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
go
shame
on.
cannot exist in the light. It's
Yeah,
only when we keep it to ourselves. And when it
yeah,
comes to money, oh my gosh, few things are more shameful.
yeah,
And that's the message
yeah,
that we get all the time. So the more that we talk about this, the better.
yeah, yeah. And personally, I don't think it's talked about enough.
Yeah.
The
No.
feelings part of it. Yes, you always hear the advertisement that if you're in financial, whatever, you're hearing all of these money programs, all of these, all of these things that are out there, all the tools. But I really feel that the feelings behind having to use the tools, a feeling that you have to use the tools, those feelings, those are the things that keep people absolutely stuck, or that keeps them in shame.
Yeah.
And because it's, the financial things are tools, but it's the feelings behind it.
Absolutely. Hmm.
And so that's why when it got to be the halfway, and I said, "Oh," because I was thinking, just as I was thinking about, just your repeat gas, Emily, money. It's halfway through the year,
Good choice. Good choice, Barbara.
and to talk about this, because
Yes.
we talked about at the beginning. Some people are doing really well this year. Some people not so much. They're not reaching their goals yet. But you know what? The year's only half over.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, not even.
It's
Yes.
not even half over. So
Yeah.
let's do it, because that's something I used to do all the time. I would, I haven't done this. Oh, I haven't done this. Oh, I haven't done this. So what?
Yeah.
Keep
And
going.
then some of us are not very goal oriented.
Right.
And then we beat ourselves up about that. That's something
Yeah.
that I'm talking about myself here.
Yeah.
But then when I was able to think, okay, let's just examine this. There's some reason why I never set goals for myself. What is it?
Right.
And then, once I sat down and was able to think that through, it made sense, and it had a lot to do with, again, feeling unsupported when I was growing up and
Right.
not having anyone to help me, set goals and all of that stuff. But once you get to the root of it, then it becomes much easier. But it starts with, okay, let me just take a breath and start examining this.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And being organized. That's one of the things that I am working on now, of being organized financially.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
I'm on the same page with you, Barbara.
Yeah,
Yeah.
build, know your foundations, and what things that you are doing now are going to be income generating activities, or what things are just being busy work. And that's one of the things that I am working on. Okay, what constitutes an income generating activity?
Yeah, and that can change over time
It all
too as
boils
an
down to
entrepreneur.
it. Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Because
Sometimes you just need to try things and then track them and see, oh my gosh, I'm spending all my time and energy here, but that's actually not working.
it's not making any money.
Yeah.
It's not, nothing is coming in.
Yeah.
And some things that you have to do, like one of my mentors, Steve, he talks about the $100 activities, and then he talks about the $1,000 activities. If you are spending all your time doing the $10 an hour activities, you can't possibly get to the $1,000 activities. And the $1,000 activities, those are the ones that you need to be doing, because they're the ones that are going to bring you in $1,000 an hour, as opposed to spending your time doing the $10 that are costing you $10 an hour, and that you would be getting paid $10 an hour. And it was like, oh, that was a revelation.
That's a really good yeah, because have you noticed sometimes we avoid, I know myself, talking to myself now, I'm like Emily, that sometimes we might avoid the $1,000 ways of how we do things,
Yep.
and,
Yep.
and hold on to the $100 ones. And
Yep.
then we're trying to figure out, okay, well, wait a minute, why I'm not getting the 1,000 or more, that's coming in, because we're so busy, like you said,
Right.
looking at
Busy work.
that, the busy work.
Busy work.
And then we got to take a look at that and say, well, why are we not working on
Mhm.
the $1,000 activities? I mean,
Yeah.
what's the reason?
Yeah, you can draw a picture about that too. You can draw a picture of yourself with a $10 activity, a picture of yourself with $1,000, then compare the two and say, "Oh, what's different here? Which one makes you mad?"
Yeah. It's not like we don't like making money.
No, we want the money. We want,
the money.
We want the money.
But why are we letting this
What's that
stagnate us in
barrier?
this?
What's
Yeah,
that barrier?
Exactly. Yep. There's something in our subconscious that's trying to keep us safe for some reason. We need to understand why.
Yeah.
And
I think that goes right back around. I think it goes right back around what we were talking about earlier about when Barb was talking about the fear of, she's putting this together in this whole workshop. And it's like, well, why is it taking me? Why am I doing this? And you said it was the fear of, people might not come to you
absolute
with purchasing or whatever you're doing.
Right. So, the thing is, ladies, the feeling when I sat down with it, my heart was pounding, my stomach was, it was just a total feeling of dread. And it was like, okay, my heart is pounding, my stomach is churning. I have this feeling of dread. Am I going to die literally right at this moment? No, Barbara, you're not. Okay, so what's behind it? What's behind this? And let's look at this. And once I did that, it was like I came off of that moment, and it was literally like 5 minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes of just sitting with that and feeling it and giving myself permission to feel it. And then I came away. I literally had a page of all the things that I could do. And the thing is, though, now I have finished everything on that page. So this was like 10 days ago. But the thing is, I reached out to get help, to help me with it. Okay, how do I start this? And that's what but it was sitting with those feelings first, that it was like, that absolute dread.
Oh, that is such a beautiful example and proof that this works so well, and that it doesn't take forever, and that you don't have to go to therapy for the rest of your life.
No, exactly.
I know some people are doing that right now. And that's been in therapy for 5 years, and they're still trying to figure out, well,
right.
I'm not bad mouthing therapy.
No,
it has saved many lives. There's absolutely a place for therapy. But that some of these things you can, if you, so much of it is just trying to avoid what we're feeling. So if we just face it head on, that's where progress will be.
Yeah. And then sometimes you just might have to switch to another therapist. I tell people sometimes that was not working. There's always
switch.
More out to switch.
Right.
Sometimes we take a long time to do that because we feel like, oh, well, I've been with them for a while. No, switch, make a change. Right. It's okay.
And and that's also true of coaches. I have had I had a coach, and then all of a sudden it was like, Barbara, you've gone past her, and nothing against her at all. I mean, she was wonderful, taught me so much. But then, it's like a child. You don't stay in kindergarten. Then you go to first grade, and then you go to second grade. While your teachers don't switch with you. You get different teachers that teach at the next level up. Coaches are no different. It doesn't matter what kind of a coach that you are using right at that moment. If you're having a money issue, hey, I highly recommend you to get with Emily and see where you're at, how to get past that. Absolutely. If you're looking to make your diamond shine, you want to get more social media, go to Barb. If you want to learn how to tweak your messaging, come to me. Because we all have our level of expertise and as you're ready for it. And one of the mistakes that I made, I had a coach, one of my very first coaches, and I didn't know. I really didn't. And one of my favorite sayings is, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
I can look back and realize that she wasn't the coach for me because she was teaching me high school and I was still in kindergarten.
Hmm.
And it just always felt like there was a disconnect. That's what's wrong with me.
Mhm.
So when you are thinking of getting a coach, like I didn't know enough to say, hey, what are you going to be teaching me? And at that point, I would have been able to say, oh, gee, I don't know anything about that. And she was a very good coach, but she wasn't. She was too far. She was too far above me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so that's one of the things that I try to find out from my clients. Where are you right now?
Mhm.
Are you ready for what I'm going to be able to teach you? If they
Mhm.
are, great. Like right now, I tend to be attracting content writers.
Mhm.
And that's my last two people are content writers or copywriters. And so great, because they're ready for what I can teach them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way when they start with a financial advisor.
Right.
That's the stories that I've heard because and they're not trained to deal with the emotional piece, which is a lot of what people need first in
Right.
order, before they work on the practical part.
Right.
And another thing I wanted to say about what you just said, Barbara, is that it also goes to um, understanding yourself, just what you getting back to what you were saying earlier, understanding who am I, how do I operate, and what do I need in this moment,
Right.
and then giving that to yourself. And I think especially as women, we often just go with someone or the first person we meet with or the first person we talk to. And I recently had experience with a mortgage advisor. We recently bought a house and I just didn't like this person.
Mhm.
They didn't smile. I just didn't feel, I don't know, I just didn't feel very comfortable with them. And even though this was like a straightforward financial transaction, I guess I didn't need them to like me, but I would have preferred working with someone who I felt like liked me
Yeah.
or who I would,
Exactly.
like to have a conversation with. And I sat with it and I really put it off for a few weeks. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to go with this person because I just want a positive experience. And so when we found someone else who was great and it ended up, a really great experience. But yeah, just knowing yourself and giving yourself what you need, I think it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So,
So, well, our time was near. I know
It always flies.
we
again,
always get into good conversations, and I know this is what we've been doing a lot. But we want to make sure that Evelyn, if you just tell everybody how they can contact you and any new things that are coming up that they need to know.
Sure. You can always contact me. My website, myselfandmoney.com. And if you are interested in drawing, you could try a few of the prompts that I mentioned today. But I also have a course, Draw Your Way to Abundance, where that's exactly what we do. For 4 weeks, we draw and we try to figure out where any of our blocks are from keeping us from all that we want to achieve and be. And so I'm doing a program that right now, but there's a link on my website. So if you want to sign up to be notified when it opens again, you can do that. And speaking of personality, if you want to take a money personality quiz and find out what your money archetypes are, you can also do that on my website.
cool.
Hmm.
The more we know about ourselves, really seriously, the more we know about ourselves, the better it is.
Absolutely.
The better it is. It
That's
impacts everything.
awesome.
It
Yes.
impacts everything.
And
And then, yeah.
I was going to say, and Barbara, for you, because I know I wanted you to make sure you stated your personality again assessment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My personality assessment. It's a freebie. And it just really highlights. And one of the things is that you will see yourself in it, but then you'll also see someone else. You immediately, oh, that's why they do that. And it's really fun. And then of course it is a freebie, so you can have anybody else in your family do it. And it starts the process. It's just a fun, easy way to start the process of becoming aware, because it's that first candlelight or flicker of light of awareness that gets you going on your road, on your journey. So that's our job, is to bring you tools that you can start your journey with. You don't have to be 20 miles down the road. You might have to take the first half inch step.
Yeah, at least you start somewhere, right?
You
That's
start
what I tell
somewhere.
people. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So Barbara, we have
Yeah.
a couple of
And then
minutes.
for me,
Tell us about your workshop.
yeah, and for me, just to let everybody know, my workshop's coming up in June, the first week on a Thursday, and it's called Social Media for the Biz Queen. Doesn't have any time, but needs to shine like a diamond. And I'm really going to be working with women. I'm looking for 20. It's like an incubator type of situation where it's going to be 6 weeks. And I'm going to start off basically by saying, okay, who's your client and what do they want from you? And do you really know where your client is in the social media world, as I call it? A lot of times people will place things everywhere. And as everything else, you have to have a strategy.
Right.
And I'm seeing a lot of our biz queens out there that is not putting so much of strategy out there when it comes to social media because they feel like if somebody tells them, okay, put it on Facebook, put it on LinkedIn, you're good, they'll come to you. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Sorry, it doesn't. So I'm here to help you and guide you through that because we all want to, like we said, we want to make money. We want new clients. We want new partnerships. And the way to do it is we have to strategize in our social media. And that even is Clubhouse. So I'm throwing that out there because that's been a whirlwind right now. But I always tell people, I asked one person the other day, they've been on Clubhouse sometimes daily at 8 hours, 9 hours. I'm like, oh my God. And I asked him, I said, hey, you've been on there for 8 hours.
Right.
Have you made any kind of money or
Right. What have you monetized?
transactions? Or what are you monetizing? Or have they don't even know who you are? What are you doing? And one of them told me they were in a room where it's called about land of the dinosaurs. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that says it all there.
You know, you're going to have your personal what is it, self-care if you want to. Maybe that's self-care, but mostly not for 8 hours. Not for 8 hours.
You have to be strategic. And Barb, you hit it on the head. Be strategic.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. Like one of my things is I love doing this show and I interview people. And from that I've gotten I've gotten business from that. And but pick your thing and then figure out how to do it the best way you can. And get some help.
And get the help. Yeah.
Get the help. Do it.
And sometimes, like you said, money is a very big item because we lose it. Because time is of the essence. You can always make money. I always tell people you can always find a way to create a product or service, what have you, get with somebody and make the money. But when it comes to time, you can't get that back. Right. So I always tell people use your time wisely, especially on your social media platforms.
Yeah.
But that's coming up.
Don't be afraid to take a look and see what's not working.
Yeah. And like I said, switch. You need to switch or change or whatever. It's okay. It's okay to do that. In fact, it's best to do it now than wait. And I have done that too. Yeah.
Oh, haven't we all? I have so many things on my shelf that is shelf help and now so many of them are obsolete. Because I bought stuff that I wasn't ready for, or I bought stuff that was like, pie in the sky, shiny object syndrome.
Oh, yes. And that could be like another financial
that's a whole nother story.
Just buying shiny objects, be like, okay, now what was this for? What the hell is in the basement?
Yeah, and then you don't even remember what it was for.
Yeah, it's like, what was I getting there for? But I paid $200 for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could talk for an hour about that next time. We'll talk about
we'll talk about that.
Please, that would be great. We definitely need to talk about that on the show because we all do it. We all do it.
Shiny object and the shiny object syndrome and the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we're going to put that out there so people everybody needs to see that show.
Yeah. We'll have to put that out there. Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Emlyn, again for coming on. You are just always a breath of fresh air. You teach us so much.
I love the title, Me, Myself, and Money. So
yeah, true. Me too. I like that. I said, that's creative. So we'll see everybody back next Tuesday. I know Barbara always has a wonderful, wonderful guest that's coming on our show. So
next month,
thank you so much.
Yeah, next week her name is Emma, and she is a copywriter. Going to help you to write. When you're writing things to how to write them effectively and just little tips and things. So so I'm excited. It'll be good.
So all those authors out there and everybody that
Yeah,
wants to write,
yeah,
come on
it's
next
copywriter.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
All right.
Evelyn,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.